I wake up every day pissed off because we gave this administration the most secure border in my lifetime. And the data proves it. Illegal immigration was down 83 to 90%. Illegal immigration was down a 45-year low.
I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president I worked for took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security.
Even Clinton and Obama took actions to secure the border. No one did more than President Trump.
Joe Biden's the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured the border on purpose.
And that pisses me off because when you unsecure the border, people die.
This isn't mismanagement. This isn't incompetence. This is by design. So the first morning I woke up with a smile on my face was the day after the election when President Trump won.
I see the White House spokesperson and they'll say the Trump administration's inhumane policies. You guys are inhumane, you're racist. And our policy is much more humane. That's a bunch of bullshit. Because let me tell you the truth. I've talked to girls as young as 9 years old when I was a special agent that was raped multiple times by the criminal cartels of Mexico. They're animals. And when you sit down and talk to a 9-year-old little girl and look in her eyes, and every bit of humanity has been stolen from her, everything innocent, it breaks your heart and it pisses me off. Because when President Trump had illegal immigration down 83% to 90%, how many women weren't being raped? How many children weren't dying? How many pounds of fentanyl didn't make it in the country to kill Americans? How many known suspected terrorists didn't get in the country because our border was secure? President Trump's policies were not inhumane. They saved lives.
When this administration calls the crisis the biggest they caused, it overwhelms the Border Patrol. And because the Border Patrol is so overwhelmed taking care of this humanitarian crisis, many of them are pulled off the line. And what happens then? 600% increase in sex trafficking. Fentanyl coming across the border to kill 250,000 Americans. Record number of people on terrorist watch list crossing the border.
President Trump was one badass president. President Trump, he didn't ask Mexico for help. He told Mexico you're going to help. He told him, he said, you're going to put soldiers on your northern border and southern border, and you're going to participate in the Remain in Mexico program. If you don't, I'll tariff the hell out of you in the billions of dollars. And he did it.
To me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary today is the word tariff.
When President Trump was in office, we went to New York City. We did a press conference because we just did an operation. We rearrested just shy of 500 gang members, most of them MS-13. President Trump, on the way home, we were flying Air Force One. He goes, Tom, how quick can we get these people deported? I said, well, it's difficult because El Salvador pushes back on the criminals coming back to the country. We can't just deport people to home country. We got to ask permission, and we need a travel document. And President Trump looked at me and goes, what are you talking about? I says, El Salvador is pushing back and taking these people back. They won't issue travel documents and won't give us landing rights. He looked at me and says, he goes, let me get back to you. He called the president of El Salvador and says, you will take them back. He goes, I'm going to take every dollar of international aid away from you. 2 days later, Trump calls my phone and says, how many planes can you fill up to El Salvador? The next day, we filled 11 planes and sent them south. And he did it. Because Congress wasn't doing a damn thing. So President Trump said, I'm not waiting for Congress. I'm going to make it happen. He built the wall. That's why illegal immigration was at a 45-year low. Then this moron comes into the office, and he unsecures the border. And let me tell you what he's done. Their first year in the Biden administration, 1.7 million illegal entrants. An historic record. This country never saw that many people before. 1.7. And you know what? He broke his own record the second year with 2.4 million. Another historic record. And the numbers aren't out yet because they haven't released September numbers yet because they're shitting their pants because they know this is going to be a bad number. I'm telling you right now, we're looking at about 3.1. Think about that. The strongest country in the world no longer controls the southern border. I talked to chief patrol agents and say, look, it's broken arrow. These people, I can't contain what's coming across. And what's their answer? Their answer, this administration, let's send more resources to the border to process quicker and release quicker. Because if there's no overcrowding, there's no crisis. And Secretary Mayorkas, who needs to be impeached, should have been impeached 2 years ago, he keeps saying, oh, the border's secure. The border's secure. Every time his lips moves, he's lying.
But that's not what I asked. Are any of these individuals members of the CCP?
So
I think there's about 70 who came on this bus.
If indeed they are determined to be a national security threat or a threat to public safety, we detain them pending their removal proceedings.
Were any of these individuals detained, or were they released into the interior of the country?
I don't have awareness of that particular group of individuals.
But surely you know about the folks who you've read this report. You're the Secretary of Homeland Security. Were any of them members of the Chinese Communist Party coming into this country? Don't you think it's strange that we have busloads of Chinese nationals coming across our southern border?
We are very focused on all things with respect to the People's Republic of
But you
China.
don't know any of the details.
Your open border policy has aided and abetted the murder of Americans, the rape of Americans. People have lost their loved ones because of this catastrophe, this open border policy. Do you have any remorse? Do you have any regrets?
2 points. One, very importantly, all of our hearts break for the victims of these heinous crimes and their loved ones. Secondly, the criminals who committed those crimes are responsible for their criminal conduct.
They wouldn't have been
and
into
need-
this country had you not allowed them in.
The 5 minutes don't mean nothing to me. You know, there's a congressman, the congressman used to gavel me. What's her name? J. Paul. And I reminded her she worked for me. She worked for us. The members of Congress worked for us.
You have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan,
Look-
please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have
This is a
approved
circus.
an agreement
This is a circus.
between the Republican. Please respect the chair's authority. The
I respect the
gentlewoman-
chair's authority, but the chair.
Mr. Homan,
but you work for
excuse
me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
So if a congressman can't gavel me off the stage, you ain't getting me off the stage. But because of his policies, we got over 100,000 dead Americans. When the Biden administration can't find 100,000 children that they released to so-called sponsors. I'm telling you, the guy that runs HHS, another genius, Becerra, he had a speech the other day and said, we're releasing children at record numbers, at fast pace. That's nothing to be proud of. Because you're not vetting the sponsors, and now you can't find 100,000 children. I've done this for 35 years. Based on my years' experience in investigating trafficking cartels, some of these children are going to be in pornographic movies. Some of these children are living with pedophiles, and some of these children are in forced labor. Why would you release 5 or 6 female children to one male sponsor? Why would you do that? So God help these children. God help these children. I love kids. And this administration, I don't want to hear another word about you being humane. There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
Let me be clear. There is going to be a mass deportation because we just finished a mass illegal immigration crisis on the border where anybody can look at 9 out of 10 people claim asylum at the border will end up with an order removal. So we give you that due process, and at the end of that due process, a federal judge orders you removed, we have to remove them. Because if we don't, shut down the immigration court. Those orders don't mean anything anymore. Because if you let them stay, you'll never fix the border. And I'm sending a message for people that say they're going to get in our way. Don't cross that line. It's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't want to help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, if you don't want to fix it, if you don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will. We're going to enforce the law, period. And they're not going to stop us.
How are we done in 5 minutes? You got it. President Trump proved Congress don't get off their ass. He'll secure it through executive actions. We'll finish building the wall. Every place they built the wall, illegal immigration went down, illegal drug flow went down in that area. Where are the people coming across right now where there's not a wall? What he did was unprecedented. You know how many lives this man saved? They've arrested, counting the northern border and the entire border, 569 people. 569 people off the terrorist watch list in the past year. More than the 8 years combined. Last year with Trump, we caught 4.
Over 2 million known gotaways. How many of them come from a country sponsoring terror? How many of them were carrying fentanyl? How many of them are sex trafficking women and children? How many of them are gang members? So it's more than just illegal immigration. If you don't think a single one of the 2 million came from a country sponsoring terror and didn't come to do us harm, then you're an idiot.
This scares the hell out of me. And the Secretary of Homeland Security has the same data points I have. The President, if he understands, has the same data points I have. But yet they continue to open borders. So I want to end with this. Trump comes back, I come back, we will fix this shit. You got my promise.